Hello friends, Ben Ochart here, and before I get going on this water change, I want to run something by you. What if water changes were actually harming our fish? Interesting question, huh? I want to share something with you that I came across, and let's get right into it right now. If you're new to this channel and you haven't already done so, be sure to hit that bell down below and hit that subscribe button. That way you'll always know when new content is available. If you like tips on keeping fish, if you like information and want to be learning like me about taking care of fish, please hit that sub button and hit that bell. So let's get right into the topic. I came across an article that was written by a gentleman named Griffiths, and he, I believe, is up in the Sacramento area, and his article talked about how we were essentially creating a very unstable situation by having the beneficial bacteria be in an area that is constantly being messed with. And what he was referring to was either substrate, like what you see here, substrate that is stirred up and really like dug into when a water change occurs and you vacuum, and also having beneficial bacteria living on media that is in filters, that when you pull it out of the filters and dunk it into things like tank water, it actually disrupts the beneficial bacteria considerably. What he was more in favor of was having your beneficial bacteria living in a sand substrate. Now, this is not necessarily possible for some of you. Maybe some of you have plants, things of this nature. I mean, you could always glue anubias to decor and rocks and things like that. So you could still have plants with a sand substrate. But what he was talking about was having a deep substrate, 2 to 3 inches, and then that substrate would not be messed with. He talked about how there's a myth in fish keeping about how sand substrate can build up pockets of gas that can be dangerous to fish, and how that's totally a myth, that the gas that's released by that doesn't harm the fish at all. And in fact, having a 2-3 inch substrate produces both aerobic and, perhaps even more importantly, anaerobic bacteria that is deep in the substrate in a low flow area, and that helps to keep the nitrates down. But instead, we have our beneficial bacteria growing on media that is messed around with when we do filter maintenance, and in substrate like gravel that we stir around when we vacuum our tanks. And because of that, we get spikes. We get ammonia spikes, we get nitrites, and things of this nature, which can create circumstances where fish either become very stressed or die off after a water change. And over the years, I've certainly had a lot of emails where people have mentioned that after a water change, despite having test results that look good, the fish were either acting different or seemed stressed or just outright died on them. And what may have happened is that they disrupted the beneficial bacteria so much that they created a bit of a small cycle that created ammonia. And by the time that fish dies and they go in and test, it all has sort of caught up already. So they don't really put the 2 and 2 together, that their water change, they're messing with the media in the filters, they're stirring around the substrate, may have actually created a cycle, a mini cycle, if you will, and an ammonia spike that resulted in stressed or dead fish. So what Griffiths was pushing for, and it makes a lot of sense to me, and I want to hear from you in the comments below. You tell me what you think. What he was pushing for was a deep sand substrate that you simply don't mess with. All you do is vacuum things that are on the surface, which is very limited, because if you have power heads pushing detritus towards the intakes of filters, you're not going to have a lot of waste on the surface of your sand bed in your aquarium. So he says, don't rake it, don't mess with it, just lightly vacuum what might be on the top, and you're good to go. Leave it alone. And it gives you a rock solid beneficial bacteria foundation, and it gets you off of the spikes. Now, what do you then do with your filters? Your filters then become simply for water clarification. They become for particle removal. So your filters can be all sponges. Sponges that you take out and rinse, tank water, whatever, and they're being used just for filtering out of floating particles so you have nice clear water. But beneficial bacteria is maintained in the sand bed, in the sand that is in the tank at 2 to 3 inches in depth, and you're getting both aerobic and anaerobic bacteria. And that is helping to keep both the nitrates and, of course, ammonia and nitrite completely under control. I'll put a link to the article. There's an ebook that you can actually download. I'll put a link below. You tell me what you think, and I'd love to hear your take on it. And I might be actually adding sand, and I'll show you. I have a tank back here. This is the 100 that's in the middle of getting some maintenance, and I'll turn the light so we have some good light on it. This is the 100 gallon. I'm about to do some maintenance on this tank, and you can see that I have the algae scrubber. I've taken it out. It was covered in algae yesterday, and it's been worked on by some of the fish, and so they've cleaned it up for me. But this tank has pockets, has areas like right here, where I have there's about 3 inches of sand there, because the bottom of the tank is below this wood. It goes down to about right here. So there's about 3 inches of sand there. So that left alone could actually be a home for some beneficial bacteria. Whereas areas like this that are very low, this area in here has hardly any sand on it. So that has no beneficial bacteria. So I'd like to raise the sand level in this tank to about right here, all the way across. So that's a project I'm going to involve myself in, and you folks can certainly follow along. I'll turn the light and go back to my seat. You folks can follow along and let me know what you think. I certainly want to hear your comments below. You tell me what you think. Do you think we're onto something? Does it make sense to you? Have you had some die-offs after a water change? Have you had signs of stress in your fish after a water change? Let me know, and let's get a conversation going. The people who make expensive media products are not going to like this video. I get it, but what if all we needed were sponges in our filters and a deep sand, a deep substrate? What if that handled it and gave us a rock solid, stable tank? Could be interesting. Not good for expensive media makers, but certainly good for us, the fish keeper, expense-wise, and of course also tank and fish stability-wise. All right, so let's get the conversation going. Comment below, and if you like this channel, hit the bell, hit the sub, and I'll see you on Saturday at the Cichlids and Coffee live stream, and we'll continue the conversation there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Bye-bye.